أنشدت بسم الله ثم الحمد له فالله أهل الحمد إن الحمد له يا ربي أنت كلما رزقتني رأيت خيرا سابغا لا حد له بك الرجا وحبكم ربي سرى في القلب ثم زانه فجمله أنت الذي سترت ما يعيبني وجدت لي من
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله وصلى الله وسلم على عبده ورسوله محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه. أما بعد. After giving thanks to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and bearing witness to the fact that there is nothing else worthy of worshipping except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is his messenger and servant. May the peace, blessings, salutations, and commendation of our Lord be upon this noble messenger, his household, his companions, and all of those who continue to follow their path to the day of resurrection. As for what follows, brothers and sisters, finally we are starting our explanation on the book Al-Aadaabul Asharoh, which I translated to be the 10 Key Etiquettes. There are so many ways you could go about the translation. It could be manner, it could be etiquette, it could be character, but the whole point is that this is a short book that contains 10 solid, important mannerisms and etiquettes, and we are going to go over them one by one. Why are they important, and how do we understand them? How do we implement them? Before we go ahead, a brief introduction about the author of the book. So the book was written by Shaykh Saalih Ibn Abdullah Ibn Hamad Al Usoimy, waffaqahullah wa hafidhah. The book was written by the Shaykh known as Saalih Ibn Abdullah Ibn Hamad Al Usoimy. May Allah preserve him upon goodness. He is one of the teachers in the Masjid al-Nabawi, the prophetic mosque in Al-Madinah, and he teaches classical Islamic knowledge across different areas of the Islamic world as well. He has a particularly prestigious program among multiple programs where our students gather to learn more about the religion of Allah across different branches, ilm al-hadith, ilm al-fiqh, and all of this. May Allah reward him abundantly and preserve him upon goodness. He is still very much alive. May Allah elongate his life upon goodness. Now, we will go straight into the book itself, because the book itself has an introduction, so that should be enough. قال المصنف فقه الله, the author, may Allah preserve him upon goodness, mentioned Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He mentioned Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most compassionate, and he went straight into the discussion of his book. After Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, it went straight into the body of the book, and the scholars have established that this is welcomed. In fact, it is a practice that dated back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. In the letters he wrote to some of the kings of different kingdoms during his era, such as Herakl of Rome, Muqawqis, and all of that. So there are some of the letters, as authentically reported, where he mentioned that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim min Muhammadin Rasulillah ila Herakli Azim al-Rum salamun ala man ittaba al-huda, and all of that. He just began the letter by saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This letter is from Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, and it is being sent to this particular person. Then it went straight into the body of the letter. So even if I start this live streaming today and I just Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and I move straight into the discussion, there is nothing wrong in this, as it has been clarified. So this is what the Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala did. He mentioned Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and he went straight. Even Bismillah itself is sufficient. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim better. If you could do more muqaddimah, fine and good. You will get your reward bi-idhnillahi tabaraka ta'ala. So he started by saying, I'lam, know, recognize, be aware, هداني الله وإياك لأحسن الأخلاق. May Allah guide both me and you to the best of character. And this is a pattern that is common with the scholar. When they ask you to be aware of something, to recognize something, they follow it up by praying for both you and them. And this is something paramount and profound for us to pay attention to. Because to be very honest, brothers and sisters, it is not easy to know something. It is not easy to recognize something. And what is even more difficult is to implement what you've known. So it makes sense that they start the book by saying, "I'lam, know this, may Allah make that particular thing easy for both you and me." So he did the same thing here. He said, "I'lam, no, hadani Allahu wa iyyaka li ahsanil akhlaq." May Allah guide both me and you to the best of character and keep us stable upon it. Anna min a'zamil aadabi asharoh. That of the most profound and paramount key etiquettes are 10. There are 10 paramount key etiquettes that you want to know and pay attention to. Now we will take a pause here and go deeper into what exactly is etiquette. And first of all, why did he characterize this etiquette, this 10 etiquette, as being important? On what basis? And he's not trying to say that there are only 10 key important etiquettes. No, that's not the point. The point is that in this book, we are covering 10 key etiquettes. That is the point of the book. So the reason that these etiquettes are categorized as being very important are two. The first reason is because when you look at the context of the Sharia itself, the Sharia praises these etiquettes. There are a lot of evidence that suggests the significance of the etiquette that we are going to cover in this book. That is number one. And number two is in the practicality of the etiquette. These are things that we encounter in our daily activities. In our day-to-day activities, there will be need for us to interact with people on the basis of this etiquette. Now, if this is something we need on day-to-day basis, then it is clearly understood that it is of significant, it is of a great significance. So that is why these etiquette are very important. Now, what exactly is etiquette? Within the context of the Sharia, what do we refer to as adab? We heard the word. I mean, there is the usage of adab which illustrates classical literature and poetry and all of that. But the adab in the context of mannerism, it has a basic definition without making things complex. There are so many things that scholars have mentioned, but the basic definition is that al-adabu هو ما حمد شرعا أو عرفا ما حمد شرعا أو عرفا. Whatever that is praised either by the Sharia, by Hadith, by the Quran, by Ijma, by the context of the Sharia, this thing is known as praiseworthy, then it becomes adab. Or something that is known and praised based on rightful culture, based on rightful, well-established and valid culture. So within these two paradigms, then we can accept something to be adab. So that is the basis of adab. It's two things. The first thing is ahkam shar'iyya, and that's the first. The rulings of the Sharia. Islam legislates this, Allah says this, the Messenger mentioned this and that and that. Fine. Then the second thing is al-a'raf, the popular things that are valid, that do not go against the context of the Sharia, but maybe you probably won't find an exact evidence for doing them in the Sharia, but then you do not find an evidence that go against them, and they are well known to be character of nobility. So those kind of things, such as the way you talk and all of these things, so you want to pay attention to them, and they all together are regarded to as al-adab. Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned this in Madarij al-Salikin. So basically, the introduction to the book is I'lam, no, may Allah guide both me and you to the best of character, that there are 10 key etiquettes. There are 10 key etiquettes that you want to know. So it is really important for Muslims generally to absorb this etiquette and implement them, because this religion is a religion of etiquette. This religion is, our prophet is the best of mankind in terms of character and everything. So all the forms of emulation that we need when it comes to etiquette development, personal development, and all of these things are really rooted in the sciences of Islam. So it really speaks well of us to go deep down and explore our sources, the Quran and the Sunnah, for us to extract this massive character and noble attitude, rather than relying on the books from the West. That is not totally a bad thing, but indeed we have gold, so we might not need to rely on silver in this case. So that is the essence of this book, and why I personally choose to start this dirasa with this book. And it becomes more important on the students of knowledge. I mean, if it's something is important on general Muslims, then it becomes more important on students of knowledge, because they are the first one to have access to this. And we all know the verse that وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, saying that to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that you are on the best of character. Then what about those who are following the path of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And that's basically every Muslim, and more importantly, the students of knowledge. So it really becomes paramount upon us to pay attention to these things. So within this 11 minutes and 10 minutes, I've been able to go over the introduction to the book and why it is of significant importance. So we will go straight into the first of the 10 etiquettes, and that's probably going to be where we'll end it today. Then we continue tomorrow, and like that, bi'idhnillah. So قال المصنف وفقه الله, the author, may Allah grant him success, he mentioned al-awwal, the first of these 10 noble etiquettes is إذا لقيت مسلما فسلم عليه. If you come across a Muslim or Muslims, فسلم عليه, then you make taslim to him. How do you do that? قائلا, by saying السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. May the peace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his mercy and blessings be upon you. وإن سلم عليك, and if a Muslim make the taslim to you, فَقُلْ, then it is upon you to respond by saying وَعَلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامُ وَرَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ. Then upon you as well is the peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this basically refers to Adab salam, the etiquette of greeting, the etiquette of making salam in Islam. And this is a broad chapter on its own, but the summary is what I've read out. Now we're going to pause, reflect on it, and extend it, and so that we can clarify all the important aspect of it. So first of all, we're going to extract 3 points from this. The first point is where he mentioned, Hafidhahullah, that إِذَا لَكِيتَ مُسْلِمًا فَسَلِّمْ عَلَيْهِ. When you come across a Muslim, then you should make salam upon the person. When do you make salam upon a Muslim? When you come across them. Now, how do you define coming across? Coming across could be the normal, basic coming across that we know. You know, you meet someone on the road, you approach each other. That is lukil haqiqi, the basic and the actual meeting. You met someone in, you know, maybe in the meeting or on the road or something. And then there is luqiyun hukmi, the one that takes the same ruling as physical meeting, which is virtual meeting. So I'm on this live stream now. I began by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, because at the back of my mind, I know that the recipients of this live stream are Muslims. So making my taslim to you, it's under this same إِذَا لَكِيتَ مُسْلِمًا. If you come across a Muslim or Muslims, then you make your taslim. So coming across could be physical, which we all know and understand, and it could be virtual. I call you, and you know, you're a Muslim, then I'm calling you. So I make taslim to you by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I hope that is clear now. And again, the point we've clarified when you make the taslim. If you come across a Muslim or Muslims, and we've explained what coming across entails. But do not forget also that the recipient has to be a Muslim. If you come across someone that's not a Muslim, you know, greet yourself in any other casual way. Hi, hello, how far? Fine. If someone is not a Muslim, because it is not recommended, it is forbidden for us to begin by making taslim to non-Muslims. Taslim is a prioritized greeting. Tahiyyatu Ahlil Islam, Tahiyyatu Ahlil Jannah. It is a greeting specifically meant for the people of Islam. So you don't go to someone who is not a Muslim and say taslim to them. No. You say taslim to Muslims. If you're greeting someone that's not a Muslim, then you greet them in any other casual way. So that becomes important. That's the first matter. When do you say taslim? Who do you say it to? Now, the second matter is when he mentioned that how do you say that taslim? Said by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And this is a sifatul kumla. This is the perfect form of taslim. Okay, so we all know that there are levels to it. So, and if there are levels to things and you're capable of doing the highest of them, then it's only right that you go for the highest of them. Just like we all want the highest level of Jannah, so we should endeavor to do the highest form of things. So, Assalamu alaikum is the minimum. Please take note. It is not salam. It is not SLM. It is Assalamu alaikum, the minimum. When you say it without the alif and lam, it's fine too. Salamun alaikum, it's fine. It's just that the best way, Al-Imam al-Nawawi, rahimahullah ta'ala, mentioned this in his explanation of Sahih al-Imam Muslim and other scholars too, Al-Imam Ibn Abdul Barr. So that the best will be to have that alif and lam, Assalamu alaikum. But if it doesn't, if it's Salamu alaikum, it is fine. But not Salam alaikum or any other fashion of it that was created by ourselves, or not Sa alaikum. It's Salamu alaikum, the list. Assalamu alaikum. You understand? Not salam, not any other varieties of it. The least that we know is Assalamu alaikum or Salamun alaikum. So please do not let us rush over that lam. There is a reason it's there. So it does not become Salam alaikum or Sa alaikum. Let's just take whatever it needs for us to master it. It's not that much for the reward that comes with it. And then a higher degree compared to that is saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The first one is may the peace of Allah be upon you. The second one is may the peace of Allah and His mercy be upon you. You know, we've added mercy. And then the perfect form, the completed form is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And this is the highest form based on the most correct statement from Ahlul Ilm. So there are other opinions that you could add, other things like وَمَغْفِرَتُهُ وَرِضْوَانُهُ and all of that. But what is correct, Wallahu A'lam, based on the explanation and tahqiq of ulama, is that those ones are not valid. Well, their meanings are good, but we should stick with what the valid evidence brought, and the narrations that brought the fact that we can do addition on them have been clarified by scholars that they are not authentic. So the highest level, brothers and sisters, is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And this is what we should always aim at. If you look at the statement of the scholar, the author of this book, he said you should greet your Muslim by saying what? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. He did not even bother to say Assalamu alaikum, Salamu alaikum, because he enjoins us to go for the highest category. And why not? Why are we not going to do that? So that is how you make the taslim, and that is the second matter. Then the third matter now is if you are at the recipient's end. And also, what is the ruling on making a salam? You know, if you come across your Muslim brother, either by calling, you know, virtually or physically, what is the ruling on making a salam? So, Al-Imam Ibn al-Barr and others brought the narration that this is sunnatun, this is sunnah, this is something that is highly recommended, or mustahab, something that is highly recommended. What happens is if you do not do it, you are not exactly sinning, but you are leaving out something greater. And why would you not do that? In fact, there are other evidence that point to the fact that if you avoid doing it for some reason, maybe for envy or because of hatred and all of that, those you would be sinning on that account. But normally, maybe you passed by someone and you forgot to do it, or you know, just omit you and all of that, then that is fine. It's fine. But really, we are highly encouraged to make taslim and to make it in the best way possible, because you know the priority and the significance of it. So we want to adorn ourselves with that characteristics. Now, the third mas'ala, the third issue under this statement is now if you are the recipient now, if someone has made the taslim to you. So he says, وَإِن سَلَّمَ عَلَيْكَ, if your Muslim brother or sister has already made the taslim to you, then you respond by saying, wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Then upon you as well is the peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. as we have established, there are levels to this one too, just like there are levels to the greeting. So there is wa alaikum salam, that's the least. You don't say wa alaikum to your fellow brothers. So alaikum is what you say to um, people that are not Muslim when they greet you by saying Taslim. You understand? We've mentioned that as Muslim, you don't greet non-Muslims by saying Taslim. But if they, people just try to experiment with things. If non-Muslim greets you by saying Salam alaikum, what do you say? You respond wa alaikum islam. Upon you to is al-Islam. Accept Islam for you to say Salam, for you to have the peace. You understand? So, but your fellow brother, do not respond to them by saying wa alaikum. So it's wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam. So that is the list. Then wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And we know all that and their levels, and we are encouraged to stick to the highest level. We are encouraged to stick to the highest level. Then the ruling on responding to taslim is wajib. It is wajib. It is compulsory upon you to respond to taslim. You've been greeted, then compulsory upon you to respond. And now it is recommended for you to respond with that which is better. For example, if someone says Assalamu alaikum, you try to respond with the perfect tone, Alaikum assalam wa barakatuh, or Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Those are recommended. But if someone has already said Assalamu alaikum, then it is compulsory upon you to say Wa alaikum assalam, minimum compulsory. Then it is highly recommended you increase upon it. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. Now, if someone greets you by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, what is compulsory upon you? Already, the compulsory upon you is that completed fashion, because he has already greeted you with the completed fashion. And we all know the fact that if you are greeted in a fashion, so you should respond with what is better, or at least return what he has given to you. Someone give you, third grade, at compulsory upon you give that third grade, or better, give second grade, first grade. Someone give you second grade, compulsory give second grade, or better give first grade, and all of that. So the explanation is clear. Now, also something we should quickly run over and explore here is the issue of when exactly it becomes compulsory and when it's not compulsory upon you to respond to taslim. So if a person, if it's singular meeting, someone faces you directly, or someone calls you, or you are in a one-on-one meeting, and then the taslim is made to you specifically, then it's compulsory upon you to respond. You understand? Not necessarily one-on-one. It could be even public meeting, but someone said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, brother Abdurrahman, or something like that. Even without mentioning your name, someone looks at you and say, oh, brother, Assalamu alaikum. So it is compulsory, fardul ayn. It is specifically compulsory upon you in that regard to respond to the taslim. But if it is like a public gathering, then it becomes fardul kifaya. So if maybe I am presenting to a whole public a hall, and then say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, what is necessary is for us to get at least one person to respond to the taslim. Then it's no longer compulsory upon the rest. But remember, we are talking about the ruling of compulsory now. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, because actually if you're not doing it, you are the one missing out on the reward. So if I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, this is just a free opportunity for you to grab reward, then just respond. But actually, there will be situations where it isn't really, really feasible. You could be in a masjid, maybe reciting the Quran or talking with your fellows, and someone just enter and is greeting, the entire congregation, not necessarily the imam. You are just there, and then you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If a couple of people have responded and you're sure that they've responded, then it's not necessarily compulsory upon you, except that you won't get that reward as those who have responded. And also, something worthy of noteworthy here is that when you're being greeted, it is upon you to respond loud enough for the person to know you've responded. Okay, so it's not a proper etiquette that someone says Salaam alaikum, with beautiful face and all of that, and you're just like Alaikum salam, or you just made it inside. You're like, respond to my greeting. I've responded internally. I greeted you externally, so why are you responding internally? So I hope all of these are clear. So they are really important that we know their places and how they are to be placed. And the same thing applies for there are talks about letters. If letters are particularly addressed to you on a personal level and it began at Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh, then it is upon you to respond. Now, responding, the compulsory one is you respond by saying, if you go ahead to write it, it's also paramount, but not necessarily obligatory. You could read a letter that says Salaam alaikum and you respond by saying Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. But why not write it as well? So, but what is compulsory on you? Again, clarifying between compulsory doesn't mean you should only stick to those. We are talking about etiquette here. You don't want to do things that will put you in difficult position and you will not need to be explaining yourself that at least it's not compulsory, what not. You don't want to do that. We are only mentioning this, and I made mention of this at the beginning of this course and the beginning of this program, that I'll be talking about what is compulsory, what is mustahab for a particular reason, such that when they are conflicting, you know how to arrange them properly. For example, you are in the masjid enjoying your recitation of the Quran, and someone enters, make a public taslim, which is not specifically meant for you, but for the general masses. And some people have responded. You don't need to cut your recitation of the Quran. You can go on and enjoy your Quran without feeling guilty. Do you understand now? Without being like, it is compulsory to respond to taslim. Yes, it is compulsory, but now that it is made to the general masses and we've seen people who have responded, then the fard has been paid, the obligation has been observed, and it's no longer upon you. So having knowledge of these things enable us to place things in the right way and go on with our life without having much difficulties. But it's not for you to now be going ahead and saying, oh, it's not compulsory, it's not upon me, it's sunnah, it's mustahab, I'm not sinning. I mean, it's an opportunity for us to get reward. So that is basically everything for today, bi'idhnillah. If there are questions, inshallah, that we can attend to, then we'll go over the most likely questions will be attended to only on live session. But if I have the chance of going over previous live streams and see questions and comments under it, then we'll take them and address them bi'idhnillah. So this is where we will put an end to it for today. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll continue from the next adab, which will be the second one. May Allah make it easy. May Allah guide us to the best of character. Innahu waliyyu dhalikal qadir alim. If you have people that will benefit from listening to this, which I believe you will have as Muslims, then feel free to share it to them and forward it to them. And may Allah make it beneficial. May Allah grant us the reward. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.